Tony Wiggins with Locked On Jaguars. I know the draft can't get here soon enough because y'all tired of hearing all of these catchphrases. Well, I'm going to give you some more of them. I'm going to set your mind free about some myths in this pre-draft process, and I'll do it in just a second here on a Friday on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, good people? What is going on? What's happening? I am Tony Wiggins, your host of Locked On Jaguars, your team every day. It's because we're here every day, Monday through Friday at least, bringing you the top quality coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're free on all platforms. And I want to thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Without you, we wouldn't be here doing what we do. So this draft process has started to get to the point where people are getting a little bit fatigued, right? And I guess it's where we have to kind of bring you back in off the ledge a little bit and let reality set in. So I'm going to give you some things that's going to help you guys get through. And when I say you guys, I'm talking about me too, right? Because there's a chance you can get a little overloaded with all of the information that's being regurgitated. One of the things I talked about in the past is, just to give you an example, is you can find a guy. It just totally takes away this vetting process. And it just totally takes away from the fact that people are doing their job the best that they can do. And the fact that folks are real tedious with how they look at players. And then some dude pops up and go, you can find a guy. You can't find that guy. If it was so easy to find a guy, so many teams would not be bad at drafting. So we'll discuss that a little bit. I also, and I'm going to do this in segment 2. I want to say I don't have any skin in the game in terms of having to be right. I do have skin in the game because I want the Jaguar fans to finally get a winner. So therefore, when I make a little bit of prediction and I'm honest and say what my gut tells me, it's not because I want to be right. It's because I want it to be right for Jaguar fans, and I want things to get better for the organization, right? Because the better they are for the organization, the happier the fans are. The happier the fans are, the better the football experience. It gives me some new stuff to talk about. Blase. You get my point. So we've been looking at tape. And when I say tape, I'm not talking about all 22. I'm not talking about highlight tapes. I'm talking about full game tapes. Me and a couple of friends of mine, two played in the NFL, and the other coached at a very high level, whether it be from college and then, high school and then a little bit of college. So I told him, don't call me crazy, but I want you to do this. I want you to do what another buddy of mine suggested that I do. I say, I want you to watch this game and this game and this game. And you can fast forward until the guy I'm telling you to watch is on his side of the ball. And I did it with 3 guys. 3. And they all play the same position. And then I talked about a lot of the narratives that exist out in the media about those guys. And I asked them, now, tell me, does this match? All 3 of them said no. I said, I thought so. I'm going to tell you what that is in segment 2. I'm going to give you a hint right now. One of the guys that they talk about work hard and that works hard and goes hard all the time, Aiden Hutchinson, doesn't. And this will be backed up. Now, trust me, when y'all see this on social media, if you start going in on me if you want to, you'll have some people that you know go, he ain't lying, I saw it. And I'm going to charge you to do something. I'm not saying the kid is not a good player. I'm not saying he won't be great. And I'm not saying he dogs it. But what I'm telling you is, for people that say he goes 100 miles per hour all day long is wrong. I'm not the technical guy that's going to sit here and do cut-ups like that and embed them into this podcast. My machine might blow up if I start doing that kind of stuff, and everybody knows I'm not that dude. But I'm gonna tell you, just go look at it. Do me a favor. Just y'all do me a favor. I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna charge you with this task. If you ain't got nothing else to do this weekend, on one of these rainy days, I want you to go watch these guys. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. And we'll discuss this in segment 3. Don't look for highlights. Look for lowlights. It's the things that you see them do when it's like the bad things that you see them do. Those are the things that are more likely to come up in the NFL when things get going tough. The bad things you see them do will be the things that will most likely pop up in the NFL when things are going tough. I just want you to pay attention to that. So back to my original point. My original point was you hear things and you see things and words and catchphrases like this guy or that guy. I wonder how they're going to act when they get paid. I wonder how all of them are going to act when they get paid. That takes on a life of its own. I have no idea where it comes from. Something else that takes on a life of its own when you talk about certain players, and I'll give you an example, Tavon Walker. Man, he sure had a lot of guys around him making plays. He had a lot of great teammates, so I don't know if you can really look at what he does as something good. Name me a guy from Alabama the last 15 years that didn't have a bunch of NFL players on his team. Don't worry, I'll wait. Throughout the years, name me somebody that played for Florida State or Miami or Florida that didn't have a bunch of teammates on his team that were good. Name me somebody off of that Ohio State team in 2014 that didn't have a bunch of people on his team that were good. Name me somebody off the 2019 LSU team that didn't have a bunch of teammates around him that made him look good. Can you imagine that if the year after LSU won the title, if Jamar Chase didn't opt out and because the quarterback was worse and the quarterback wasn't very good, and Justin Jefferson had gone to the NFL and did what he did as a rookie with the Vikings, and Chase's numbers would have gone down from his Biletnikoff year the year before, you know Jamar wouldn't have been the 5th pick in the draft. Y'all know that, right? If Jermaine Johnson hadn't left hadn't left Georgia and gone to Florida State, you know he probably wouldn't be a first-round pick, right? Had Jamison Williams not left Ohio State, you know he probably wouldn't be a first-round pick, right? So the point is just because a guy is on a team full of other players doesn't erase what he's going to be in the future. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Let's talk about some scouts, man. Let's talk about what they're doing right now as opposed to what we're doing. And I'll talk about that here on a Friday in just a second on Locked On Jaguars. After I let you know about BetOnline.net. Because I have to tell you about it, because BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. There are some UFC fights tonight. There's boxing next week. It's a time for you to make you some scratches, some skrilla with some prop bets, and the best place to find all the latest sports developments, including the Masters Championship, which is going on right now, podcasts and reviews for all the different leagues this season is at BetOnline, because BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. And you start here with me because I want to be starting something like I'm MJ here on Locked On Jaguars, and you make us your first listen, and we are greatly appreciative. And you can also find in our podcast wherever you get your podcast, and you can subscribe on YouTube. Now, let's get to what scouts and coaches are probably up to right now as opposed to what we are up to in the media. Instead of throwing out these catechisms, is what I call it, about this process. Be very wary of anyone, and it's not that people can't change their mind. It's not that people can't have a continuing evaluation going on, or a continued evaluation and a continued process, but be very aware of people that start to change their mind about these players when the players are no longer doing drills, when the players are no longer playing games. Be very, very careful of that if they say they're an expert. And here's why. Because most of these guys are changing their mind based on what they're hearing from other people. the people that want information put out, folks that are putting out information that aren't privy to these meetings going on in this building. I'm one of them. But that's why I put my own information out. Be real careful when people start changing their mind based on what they're hearing, because all they're trying to do is align themselves with what is right or what is going to be correct, as opposed to telling you exactly what they think and what they feel. My case in point, or my reason for bringing that up, is this. Because if they're getting information from anybody, the information may not be credible, because you know why? Because people put out misinformation in order to throw you a curveball and have you chasing something that has nothing to do with anything. Another thing I want you to be wary of. Be careful of what they call these top 30 visits, and that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because there's no such thing as a top 30. No one brings in the 30 guys that they have ranked 1 through 30 on their board. They bring guys in that periodically they think they might be able to run into down the line. But I'm going to tell you what they also do. What they also do is what they don't do. And what they don't do is bring everyone in that they intend to draft and everyone that they like, because they don't want people to know that they like them. So don't worry too much about these visits. The team chaplain, Mo Williams, he was a draft pick of the Jaguars. He's a second-round pick, right? Mo told me, I cut his hair before. I actually did a radio show with him once. I know him very well. Mo told me that when he was picked by the Jaguars at the very top of the second round in the 30s. He never talked to, interviewed. They didn't come to his pro day. He never said one word to anybody in Jacksonville. And right at the top of the second round, boop, they got him. There are stories and stories and stories of guys, Jalen Ramsey included, that said that they were told by teams, if you're there, we're going to pick you. And this isn't like some stuff went on and some circumstances happened and dude was the 40th pick. No, this is at the top 5 of the draft. You had 2 teams tell Jalen Ramsey, I'm taking you. And they didn't. Anybody twist their arm? Anybody make them change their mind? They didn't do it. This is lying season, folks. This is lying season. And folks don't just lie with their mouth. They lie with their visits. They lie with all of that stuff. They bring guys in they have no intention of drafting. And what boggles me is that this happens every single year, and we still fall for it. And I say we because I ain't going to point no fingers at nobody else. We still fall for it. It's just not true. So as you get fatigued and overloaded with all of this information, understand that a lot of it is a lie, and it's a lie on purpose. It's not even true. You know, those people are doing right now, they're trying to put their boards up based on where they think guys are going to go, based on the tendencies, and this is what you got to pay attention to, the tendencies and the history of these teams. Now, here's why Jacksonville is so hard, because you know a little bit of the tendencies, and I'll get into Balky's tendencies in segment 3 when I start talking about these edge rushers. You know a little bit of the tendencies, but what you don't know is what those tendencies are as it relates to Doug Peterson and what type of power and authority that Doug Peterson has. And how are they going to figure out that? Now, I'm going to even call it a tug of war, but how are they going to negotiate and figure out who's going to do what? Interesting thing here. The Foy Oluwakan, the Mike linebacker. Mike Caldwell, and I read it online somewhere. I wish I could give somebody credit. I don't know who did the interview or whatever, but Mike Caldwell said, I drafted him. A very interesting choice of words. I drafted him. And he says, well, no, I was on the coaching staff that drafted him. And we knew what he could do. So how much of them getting Foy Oluwakan, how much impact did Mike Caldwell have in telling them and convincing the staff that that was a guy to go get? What kind of relationships do guys now have with college coaches? I heard an interesting tidbit today that somebody said that Doug Marrone said something about Evan Neal. And I can't repeat it because I can't confirm it, but that, you know, something along the lines of how much of that is real or not. You don't know. But folks have relationships. These people talk to these college coaches. And the college coaches don't typically lie to him because they have long-standing relationships. You lie to me today, you'll lie to me next year, so I won't come back and believe you next year. College coaches will not sugarcoat anything. I remember when that Carpenter kid got drafted in the first round by Seattle, the offensive line. Nick Saban sat right there and said, they picked who? And it was his own guy. He said, it's unbelievable. I can't believe they picked him in the first round. It's all smoke and mirrors, man. If you don't believe me, just go back and look. None of the drafts actually look like any mocks from prior years because nobody knows what anybody's doing. So we're just not going to draw inferences from stuff that people are just putting out there. We're going to try to keep it real. I'm going to tell you, we'll finally give it. Somebody asked me to do it. So I'm going to tell you what I think about the edge rushers. And see, this is what I'm doing. I'm going out on a limb here because everybody I know, and even a bunch of people I respect, they all say that Aiden Hutchinson is the number one player, and it's a no-brainer, and this, that, and the third. And I'm sitting here wondering what the hell they looking at outside of 14 sacks and some highlight plays, because I'm telling you, I have people in here for the last 2 days, and I had them watch it for at least 45 minutes, and I say, am I lying or am I flying? Do you see something I don't? And they said, no, you're exactly right. I'm going to tell you what that is here in just a second on the third and final segment on a Friday on Locked On Jaguars. Built Bar. You already know. Salted caramel, baby. That's right. That's my favorite Built Bar because it's covered with 100% chocolate and it tastes like a candy bar. And I am absolutely infatuated with Built Bar, their packaging, the way that they look. Some things can be in a package, and the way I want to open it and eat it just by looking at the package because it looks so good. You can do the same thing, man, by getting some Built Bars at built.com. Now, understand that there's now a marshmallow-infused marshmallow. It's a protein-infused marshmallow. It's called Puffs. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy, cinnamony, churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're also good, and they're also covered with 100% chocolate with the same macros as Built Bar: 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 powerful grams of protein. And all of those macros make candy bars look like you're drinking a whole bottle of vegetable oil compared to eating the Built Bars, but they taste so good. Go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15, and you're going to get 15% off your next order. Check them out also at Twitter at @bar_built for all the latest news about Built Bar. All right, we're going to roll along here on a Friday afternoon. I am Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars. So I did this little dive with these, and before somebody accuses me of trying to act like I'm a scout or a pro scout, I always ask for information and verification. By the way, anybody that says that about me probably can't sit next to me and shake a stick to what I know about football. So if it doesn't fly, just let it apply, right? So me doing my little evaluations ain't no skin off your back because the food I eat don't make you fat. So if you got something to say to me, you at me or you DM me or you pick up the phone and call me. But don't be doing all that sideline hating just because people love my podcast and can't stand what you do for a living. Now, let's get to it. I looked at 3 guys. Well, 4. I looked at Kayvon Thibodeau, even though I didn't watch as much game as Kayvon Thibodeau. And everybody I talked to is all convinced that he does some wild things, like WOW, wow. We also took into consideration he missed some games because of an injury. I think he had a shoulder and an ankle at some point. So we don't really know. You can't really tell what was going on, and that's why this process is so important. But we all said he looks like he does things that the other guys don't do. And I've been saying that from day one. Doesn't mean I think he's going to end up better. It does come a question like, okay, is that enough for you to gamble and say, I'm just taking him number 1 and that's it? Jermaine Johnson probably transfers strength and power to speed better than anybody. If he doesn't make the initial play, he'll try to make the second play. If he doesn't make the second play, he'll make the third play. And he actually is he's actually always in perpetual motion. He never, ever stops moving. I saw him take on 2 and 3 guys and run right through them. If there's one thing he doesn't do is extend his arms out a lot, but one thing he does do is he does a little karate chop moves and he pushes people's arms out of the way in these little short spaces. And he bumps and makes that initial contact and it doesn't knock him off of his line. He goes to where he goes and gets to wherever he wants to go. So I think he's going to be a real good player, and it would not surprise me if he's the best player out of all these guys in 3 years. Aiden Hutchinson, a lot to like, but when you hear all the narratives about the hard work and how he goes hard and all the time and how he doesn't quit on plays, and then you watch games, specifically the Georgia game and the Michigan State game, okay? I'll say it again. The Georgia game and the Michigan State game, there were no instances where he stopped running when the play didn't come his way. When the play did come his way, but he got blocked, he stopped running when he could have caught the guy. And then when he realized that, he started running. There were times when he looked like he was bobbing and weaving, trying to avoid being hit. And there were times when guys got their hands on him, he could not get away from them. If he doesn't make the initial play, he's not making the second one. Just go look at it and tell me I'm wrong. I'm not lying to you. So what I'm telling you is this. While everyone's looking for highlights, scouts are looking for bad stuff and bad habits. Just go look. All I'm going to tell you is just go look. Tavon Walker never does anything wrong. Now that could be a curse. By never doing anything wrong, sometimes it looks like he's playing it safe. But he also could be doing his job, because go back to what everyone says all the time. Well, you had a bunch of great teammates. Right. What does Bill Belichick say do all the time? Do your job. There was times when he did not pursue the quarterback and he set the edge and the quarterback came running right back to him and he realized he couldn't go anywhere and he got sacked. There was times when he chased wide receivers down the field. There was times he dropped into coverage and batted balls and cost interceptions. So I'll tell you what it'll translate to scouts when they say, well, he doesn't jump off the page. You know what it does? You know what coaches say? He does every single thing he's supposed to do all the time. Now, get into the fact that he's got these long arms and jumps 38 inches and runs a 4.5 40, and you go, what is he going to be projected to do once we turn him loose? That's my assessment of those guys. That's going to break these myths. I want y'all to go. The biggest one is go back and tell me, when you watch those two games, don't watch all the play. Just watch Hutchinson, and you tell me, did Aiden Hutchinson never quit on plays? Did he not look like Taven Bryant once or twice? Just be honest with me. And if you do that, then I won't belabor the point anymore. I want y'all to check out the Locked On NFL podcast, which is on YouTube and Monday through Friday, with a host of guys from around the Locked On Podcast Network. And make sure you also check out the Locked On NFL Draft podcast with my man Ryan Tracy and former NFL player Eric Crocker. They give it to you like no other. Like and subscribe both, and check out both YouTube pages and like and subscribe both of them as well. It's Friday, man. You ain't got no job, but I got things to do. I'm Tony Wiggins here on Locked On Jaguars. Thank you again for making us your first listen all this week. You're my first lesson too, by the way, all this week, and we appreciate you. And thanks once again, and we'll see you next time. And next week, y'all take care of each other here on Locked On Jaguars.